It's the Sian and Tammara Show.
You're watching the Sian and Tammara Show, and thank you very much. And today we're going to switch it up a little bit and do things differently. First,
World Women's Day, and then
1325,
and then
16 days of activism. Yay! Our holiday where we get to work every day for 16 days. Okay.
So World Women's Day was last month, and a lot of happenings was actually in the month of October. Anyways, so femLINKPACIFIC decided to give back to the women in the rural community, so we had a celebration at Nursery, Backhamble Park, with the 1325 Rural Women's Network from them, arranged by Pauline, who's our Rural Women's correspondent. And also we had a lot of exciting things happening that day. We had food. Well, other than the food, we had a guest speaker. She was also part of the town council, and she gave a speech of how being a woman, the challenges, but she managed to get past this because with the support of the women from around Nursery. It was 4 sets of women, so they had 4 rounds, and the debate was around the topic of 1325, femLINKPACIFIC, and CEDAW, and all these other general questions, which included the women's participation in local government here at the parliament, and also women in local government. And surprisingly, all the women knew everything. Well, some of the things, but they really did well, and even I honestly didn't even have some answers to some of the questions. I was like, thank goodness I'm taking the points. But anyways, the women really enjoyed themselves. Some even danced, and a point that was made by one of the women, Nani Sesh, so she said, even though today was, which was last month, International Rural Women's Day, but to them Women's Day is every day. And they also take off their hats to other rural women leaders out there who actually are paving the way for a better generation to come.
31st of October 2000, the UN Security Council adopted a groundbreaking resolution, is what it says in all of our 1325 promos. And it is pretty groundbreaking. It's about involvement of women and looking at the different parts of human security. Now, 1325 is, everyone has to pay attention to it and follow it because it's the UN Security Council resolution, and where they barely ever agree on anything, because one country will say, yeah, we want to do this, and the other country will say, no, we're not going to do that. So they veto, and then no decisions. But basically, 1325 is about involving women to prevent conflict, and that's really good. It's about participation, prevention of conflict, and there's another piece. It's about involving women in processes that they can really contribute to. And yeah. 1325.
16 days starts on the 25th of November.
Yes, it does.
So we finish our exams.
Yay! I finish on the 20th. My last paper's on the 19th, so ha! Anyway, so 16 days. It's great. It's 16 days of activism. Every different day has a different thing. So starting from next week, we'll be talking about what those different 16 days are.
Yes. What is one of your favorite days, or what day do you really like to advocate from, if you were to choose one?
December 10th, because that's World Human Rights Day. So that's human rights, and that encompasses everything. And I think that that's a really lazy choice, to be honest, because that's saying like, oh, no, it's other things. But it is. I think it's the most important day, and I guess it's because it's the end of the 16 days. So a lot of what used to happen was that there would be a march on the 10th of December, and then everyone would march for world, human rights. And I'm not really a marching kind of person. I don't really like shouting those slogans, like, our rights and human rights, because we already know that. So, I prefer a lot of the silent marches, because then it's a lot less pressure, and then you don't die in the heat, because they decide to have marches at like 12, and you're just sort of like, I'm gonna dehydrate. Because we used to have these femLINK t-shirts. Now, did you get the white t-shirt?
No, I wasn't here.
Okay, so I've been here 5 years.
Here it's full.
Magic 5 years. Magic 5, that's 10. But magic 5 years. And so I've gotten every single one of the Generation X t-shirts, and I have them sitting in my drawer because I'm sentimental like that. Yeah. And the first one was horrible because you could see through it. And the second one was black, so everyone, all the girls that got it, they were like, yay, no more see-through, and it was really hot.
Oh my god.
And that was around the time when marches still kind of happened here, and they don't really happen very often anymore.
Yeah, I guess a few organizations do marches though.
And you know, PR is gone, but so that kind of took away quite a few of the marches before. So when you're wearing a black T-shirt and there are people shouting, and you've got your banner, and you're just sort of like, I don't want to be here. It's too hot. But you know, it was a lot of fun, and it's celebrating a really, really important thing.
Actually, like, I also like Human Rights Day, but other than that, I like December 6th, Montreal, Mexico, where these, I guess it was back then, like in the 80s or 60s or something, can't really remember.
Back in the day.
Where it was this guy, Mark Lepine, he walks into like this engineering class where there were only like, I think around 10 or 6, I'm not sure, around 10, that number. Anyways, so yeah, he decided to open fire to them, and he said, because he disagreed with the non-traditional women going into that field, and that women actually belong in the home and all this kind of stuff. And so that to me marks like it has like a memorable memory, like for the women's movement also, in us challenging like the status quo, going into non-traditional fields and that sort of stuff. Yes, and I think it was them that actually made the movie. That's 16 Days Activism.
Yes. And for the 16 Days of Activism, what a lot of the Generation Next girls are doing is producing special programs. Tammara, what's your special program?
Looking more specifically post-conflict, after the conflict, like normally everyone thinks that it just ends there. Okay, everyone's made their peace, blah blah blah, everyone's moving on. But not really.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you move on, but then you keep having these like flashbacks. And that's like really something that's really messy, because then it'll affect your daily life, your decision to be conscious and more cautious about where you're going. And people think that's peaceful because but that's not, because you're being more wary. And you don't want to live a wary life where you're constantly like
post-traumatic stress disorder as well?
Stress disorder also. So it's all including. So it's like my big fan, and I want to also get in touch with Helen and Kenneth, because they actually experience more than compared to the Fiji context. And also they do counseling and they have interviews, so that'll be really good to look in.
So looking at the Pacific in general, the Pacific is not a very peaceful place as much as we'd like it to be. And you know, addressing the roots of conflict, and also and having that sort of reconciliation spaces, and also that idea that you can't just say, okay, the fighting stopped, it's all over, because you have to look at the root causes.
Yes. You do. You need to get it right down.
And looking at that whole sort of dealing with stress and conflict, you know, that whole sort of you know, mental thing. Okay, so I've stolen mental health from Tammara for 16 days.
No, it's not my property. It's not. She did not steal it. I was not the mother.
Okay,
yeah.
So I've adopted mental health this month. For the 16 days. I'm taking a look at more personal mental health, and looking at the fact that, you know, one of the problems with dealing with mental health is you have to admit it to yourself first, particularly if you're dealing with, you know, depression or manic depression, or the singular one. What's the singular
mental
one?
illness.
So generally,
mental health is a good thing.
Yeah, but generally addressing mental health so as to aspire to mental health. So, you know, admitting to mental illness and weakness and stuff. And you know, overcoming it, particularly as a young person, because there's lots of pressure.
Yeah. When you start admitting, and I really think that you are on your way to having a healthy mental health. Yeah.
Because, you know, that's the whole thing with conflict as well.
Yes.
You've got to admit the root causes of the problem so as to address it.
Yes.
So we'll be bringing you more. Also, I'm Ginger Rogers. We talked about dressing up for Halloween, but it came and went on Wednesday. And,
yes.
And why aren't you a Smurf? So we have like a bluish background.
I'm just gonna blend in right here.
For Tammara's aspiration to become a Smurf for Halloween. And I was Ginger Rogers. That was fun. She was a Broadway dancer with Fred Astaire. And if you don't know who she is, you should Google it.
Google it. She's really pretty though. I like the hairdo.
Yeah. Although it's not really like mine.
Yeah, no,
mine is more, but it's a cross between Ginger Rogers' modern interpretation while also taking parts from the 1920s jazz era with the short bob, and I had a cool hat. It was very fun. And my friend James and I went out, and then it was really boring. So we went to dinner and that was fabulous.
Dinner is always, I love food.
I like food. So you make everything that's black better with food. Alright.
Okay.
So that's all from us. Tune in again next week. We promise we'll be back next week. Thanks for watching the Sian and
Tammara show.
We'll be back with more soon.
Remember to look at camera. And I don't do that either.